Hi everyone, it's Marky Does Math, and I'll be explaining the answers of the No Calculator Math section of CollegeBoard's official SAT practice test number 1 in this video. If you want to try taking the practice test on your own, then I highly suggest taking it before you watch this video. I put where the practice test can be found in the description. Last thing, before I start covering the questions, on the screen right now and through YouTube's timestamp feature, you can see the timestamps of all the questions that I'll be covering. Alrighty, let's get started with the first question. If x minus 1 over 3 equals k and k equals 3, what is the value of x? If we substitute 3 for k in the equation, the only variable we will have is x, so we can solve for it by first multiplying both sides of the equation by 3 to get x minus 1 equals 9. And then adding 1 to both sides of the equation to see that x equals 10, which is D. Question number 2 is dealing with complex numbers. For I equals the square root of negative 1, what is the sum of 7 plus 3i and negative 8 plus 9i? This is super simple. We just need to add like terms. 7 plus negative 8 is negative 1, and 3i plus 9i is 12i. Therefore, A, negative 1 plus 12i is the correct answer. Question number 3 requires you to translate words into math. On Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M text messages each hour for 5 hours and Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? We just need to find how many messages Armand sent and then Tyrone sent on Saturday afternoon, and lastly, add the results. Armand was messaging for 5 hours and sent M messages for each of those hours, so he must have sent a total of 5 times M or 5M messages. Tyrone was messaging for 4 hours and sent P text messages for each of those hours, so he must have sent a total of 4 times P or 4P messages. Therefore, Armand and Tyrone sent a total of 5M plus 4P messages on Saturday afternoon, which is C. Question number 4. Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week, she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated with the equation P equals 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left and D is the number of days she has worked that week. What is the meaning of the value 108 in this equation? There are 2 ways to find the answer to this question. First, you can notice that P equals 108 minus 23D is in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Because b corresponds to 108, 108 must be the p-intercept, the value of p, the number of phones left, when d, the number of days she has worked that week, is 0. In other words, 108 means Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix, which is B. The second method of finding the answer is to substitute 0 for D in the equation to get P equals 108 minus 23 times 0. 23 times 0 is 0, and 108 minus 0 is 108. Therefore, P is 108 when D is 0, so before she even starts working, there's 108 phones to fix. Thus, once again, B, Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix, is the correct answer. Don't let this crazy looking expression given in question number 5 scare you. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? Like question number 2, we'll need to add like terms, but first, we must distribute this minus sign or negative sign to the terms within the parentheses after the minus sign. Those terms will become positive x squared y minus 3xy squared plus 3y squared. Now, we can add like terms. X squared y plus x squared y is 2x squared y. Negative 3y squared plus 3y squared is 0. 5xy squared minus 3xy squared is 2xy squared. So we ended up with 2x squared y plus 2xy squared, which is C. Question number 6 is very similar to question number 4. A pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age a in years between the ages of 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? Like question number 4, there are 2 ways to solve this question. H equals 3a plus 28.6 is in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where remember from earlier, m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. M corresponds to 3, so 3, which is a, is the slope or estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year. The second method would be to just think about the equation. Remember that a is a boy's age in years between the ages of 2 and 5, and age is the height in inches of the boy. Every time a increases by 1, 3 is added to the boy's height. Therefore, it makes sense that 3 would be the estimated increase in inches of the boy's height each year. Question number 7. The formula above gives the monthly payment M needed to pay off a loan of P dollars at R% annual interest over N months. Which of the following gives P in terms of M, R, and N? In other words, we just need to get P by itself on one side of the equation. Because P is being multiplied by a fraction on the right side of the equation, we need to multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal of that fraction, which is just a fraction obtained when the numerator and denominator of a fraction are switched. So we'll be multiplying both sides of the equation by 1 plus r over 1200 to the power of n minus 1 over r over 1200 times 1 plus r over 1200 to the power of n. The two fractions being multiplied on the right side of the equation multiplied to 1, resulting in just p on the right side of the equation, which is exactly what we want since we're looking for p in terms of m, r, and n. On the left side of the equation, there isn't anything to simplify. We just have the reciprocal fraction being multiplied by m. Our result of p equals 1 plus r over 1200 to the power of n minus 1 over r over 1200 times 1 plus r over 1200 to the power of n times m is b. Instead of solving for a variable, we must solve for a fraction in question number 8. If a over b equals 2, what is the value of 4b over a? 4b over a, what we're solving for, has b in the numerator and a in the denominator, while a over b, which is on the left side of the equation, has a in the numerator and b in the denominator. So let's take the reciprocal of both sides of the equation, since we have a fraction on both sides, to end up with a fraction with b in the numerator and a in the denominator on the left side of the equation. A over b will become b over a. Keep in mind that 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1, so 2 will become 1 over 2 or 1/2. Now, we have b over a equals 1/2. 4b over a has a 4 in the numerator, and we can get it in the numerator of b over a by multiplying by 4 on both sides of the equation. After multiplying, we'll get 4b over a equals 2, which means that the value of 4b over a is c, 2. System of equations questions like number 9 can sometimes be time-consuming. What is the solution xy to the system of equations above? You can either use the substitution or elimination method to solve this system of equations. I'll show you how to do both. For the substitution method, let's add x and 19 to both sides of 2y minus x equals negative 19 so that we can get what x is equal to, 2y plus 19. Now, we can substitute 2y plus 19 for x and 3x plus 4y equals negative 23 to get 3 times 2y plus 19 plus 4y equals negative 23. An equation whose only variable is y, which means that we can solve for it. But let's first simplify by distributing 3 to 2y plus 19 to get 6y plus 57. Then 6y plus 4y is 10y. Now, to solve for y, we need to get y by itself on one side of the equation, which we can do by subtracting 57 from both sides of the equation to get 10y equals negative 80, and then dividing both sides of the equation by 10 to see that y is negative 8. Let's use x equals 2y plus 19 from earlier to find the value of x by substituting negative 8 for y and then simplifying. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16, and negative 16 plus 19 is 3. Therefore, the solution xy to the system of equations is b, 3, negative 8. For the elimination method, let's first multiply 2y minus x equals negative 19 by 2 to get 4y minus 2x equals negative 38. We can subtract this resulting equation from 3x plus 4y equals negative 23. 4y minus 4y is 0. 3x minus negative 2x is 5x, and negative 23 minus negative 38 is 15. So we ended up with 5x equals 15. So our goal was to eliminate a variable, which in this case was y. If we divide both sides of 5x equals 15 by 5, we'll see that x equals 3. Now, let's just substitute 3 for x and 2y minus x equals negative 19 and solve for y by first adding 3 to both sides of the equation to get 2y equals negative 16. Lastly, we can divide both sides of 2y equals negative 16 by 2 to see that y is negative 8. So we ended up with 3 negative 8 like we did with the substitution method. Question number 10 requires you to analyze what the given function is doing. For the function g defined above, a is a constant and g of 4 equals 8. What is the value of g of negative 4? Notice that when you input something in the function, you first square it. Therefore, when you input 4, you first square it to get 16, and the same goes for negative 4. Negative 4 squared is also 16. Thus, you must end up with the same output for the inputs of negative 4 and 4 since the remaining steps in the function after getting 16 will do the same things to 16. Since the output is 8 for an input of 4, the output for an input of negative 4 will also be 8, which is A. Question number 11. In the equations above, B and C represent the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken, respectively, X weeks after July 1st during last summer. What was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? We know what B and C are equal to, so let's set them equal to find or solve for how many weeks X after July 1st the price per pound of beef was equal to the price per pound of chicken. To solve for X, we can first subtract 1.75 and 0.25x from both sides of the equation to get 0.60 equals 0.15x. Lastly, we'll divide both sides of 0.60 equals 0.15x by 0.15 to see that x equals 4. Therefore, the price per pound of beef was equal to the price per pound of chicken 4 weeks after July 1st. The last step is to substitute 4 for x in either of the original given equations to find what the equal price was. Just to clarify, you can use either equation since the prices were equal, so let's just use the equation for beef. After substituting 4 for x, we'll get b equals 2.35 plus 0.25 times 4. 0.25 times 4 is 1, and 2.35 plus 1 is 3.35. Therefore, the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken was $3.35, which is D. Question number 12. A line in the xy plane passes through the origin and has a slope of 1/7. Which of the following points lies on the line? Remember that slope is rise over run, so a slope of 1/7 means for every rise or change in the y direction of 1, there's a run or change in the x direction of 7. Since the line is starting at the origin or 0, 0, every point's x coordinate is the point's distance from the origin in the x direction, and every point's y coordinate is the point's distance from the origin in the y direction. Therefore, to find which of the following points lie on the line, we can just divide their y coordinates by their corresponding x coordinates to find the slope and see if it's equivalent to 1/7. If they're equivalent, then the point is on the line. If not, then the point is not on the line. For A, which is 0, 7, we'll have 7 over 0, which is not possible since we can't divide by 0. Therefore, the point is not on the line. For B, which is 1/7, we'll have 7 over 1, which is 7. 7 is not 1/7, so the point is also not on the line. For C, which is 7, 7, we'll have 7 over 7, which is 1. 1 is not 1/7, so the point is also not on the line like the previous 2 points. Lastly, for D, which is 14, 2, we'll have 2 over 14, which is equivalent to 1/7. So the point is on the line and thus the correct answer. Another method is to just make an equation representing the line and see if the given points make the equation true. Remember again that the slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. We know that the slope is 1/7. The y-intercept, the value of y when x is 0, must be 0 since the line passes through the origin, which once again remember is the point 0, 0. Therefore, let's substitute 1/7 for m and 0 for b in y equals mx plus b and then simplify to get y equals 1/7 times x. Now, we can test which point makes the equation true. For A, substituting 7 for y and 0 for x in the equation and then simplifying results in 7 equals 0, which is false, so the point 0,7 is not on the line. For B, substituting 7 for y and 1 for x in the equation and then simplifying results in 7 equals 1/7, which is false, so this point is also not on the line. For C, substituting 7 for y and 7 for x in the equation and then simplifying results in 7 equals 1, which is false, so this point is also not on the line like the previous 2 points. For D, substituting 14 for x and 2 for y in the equation and then simplifying results in 2 equals 2, which is true, so this point must be on the line. This is the same result we got with the previous method. Question number 13. If x is greater than 3, which of the following is equivalent to 1 over x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 3? Notice that none of the answer choices have a fraction with fractions in the numerator and or denominator, so let's get rid of the fractions in the denominator of the outer fraction. Instead of adding them, we can multiply the numerator and denominator of the outer fraction by x plus 2 times x plus 3 so that we can get rid of the denominators of the two fractions being added in the denominator of the outer fraction. In the numerator, we'll have x plus 2 times x plus 3 since we just have 1 in the numerator of the given fraction. And then, in the denominator, we can distribute x plus 2 times x plus 3 to each of the fractions. In the first fraction, the x plus 2's will cancel, and in the second fraction, the x plus 3's will cancel. In the numerator, we can multiply x plus 2 by x plus 3 by foiling. X times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 3 is 6. 3x plus 2x is 5x. In the denominator, x plus x is 2x, and x plus 3 is 5, so we ended up with x squared plus 5x plus 6 over 2x plus 5, which is B. People on the internet are saying that question number 14 is one of the toughest SAT math questions, but it really isn't that hard. If 3x minus y equals 12, what is the value of a to the power of x over 2 to the power of y? Let's try to rewrite the expression so that we can get 3x minus y somewhere in it. A is the same thing as 2 to the power of 3. We can use the power of a power rule to rewrite 2 to the power of 3, which is within parentheses, to the power of x as 2 to the power of 3x. So we just multiplied the 3 and x. Notice that the exponents in the numerator and denominator of the fraction have the same base of 2, so we can use the quotient rule for exponents to rewrite the fraction as 2 to the power of 3x minus y. We now have 3x minus y in the expression, so we can substitute 12, the value of 3x minus y, for it to get 2 to the power of 12, which is A. Question number 15. If ax plus 2 times bx plus 7 equals 15x squared plus cx plus 14 for all values of x, and a plus b equals 8, what are the two possible values for c? Notice that there's a polynomial in expanded form on the right side of the first given equation, while the polynomial on the left side of the equation is in factored form. Let's expand the left side by foiling so that we can set corresponding coefficients of terms in the equation equal. ax times bx is abx squared, ax times 7 is 7ax, 2 times bx is 2bx, and 2 times 7 is 14. 7ax plus 2bx is 7a plus 2b times x, so we just factor out the x from both terms. Now, let's set the coefficients of the x squared terms equal to get ab equals 15 and do the same thing with the x terms to get 7a plus 2b equals c. Also, remember that we're told a plus b equals 8. Of the three equations we have, only 7a plus 2b equals c has c. To find the value of c with it, we need to have the values of a and b. So let's use ab equals 15 and a plus b equals 8 to find the values of a and b by solving the system of equations with the substitution method. We can subtract a from both sides of a plus b equals 8 to see that b equals 8 minus a. If we substitute 8 minus a for b and ab equals 15, we'll get a times 8 minus a equals 15. Let's distribute a to 8 minus a and subtract 15 from both sides of the equation to get negative a squared plus 8a minus 15 equals 0, a quadratic equation. Solving this quadratic equation will be a lot easier if the coefficient of a squared is positive 1. So we can divide both sides of the equation by negative 1 to get a squared minus 8a plus 15 equals 0, which can be factored as a minus 3 times a minus 5, since negative 3 plus negative 5 is negative 8, and negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Using the zero product property, both factors can be set equal to 0 so that we can find the solutions of the quadratic equation. Let's add 3 to both sides of a minus 3 equals 0 to see that 3 is one solution of the quadratic equation. Then add 5 to both sides of a minus 5 equals 0 to see that 5 is another solution of the quadratic equation. The next step is to find the corresponding values of b for the values of a, which we can do by substituting 3 and 5 for a and a plus b equals 8. Keep in mind that you can also use AB equals 15. We can subtract 3 from both sides of 3 plus B equals 8 to see that 5 is the corresponding B value for an A value of 3. And then we can subtract 5 from both sides of 5 plus B equals 8 to see that 3 is the corresponding B value for an A value of 5. Lastly, we can substitute these two pairs of A and B values into 7A plus 2B equals C and simplify it to find the two possible values of C. 7 times 3 is 21 and 2 times 5 is 10. 21 plus 10 is 31, so that's one value of C. 7 times 5 is 35 and 2 times 3 is 6. 35 plus 6 is 41, so that's the other value of C. Therefore, 31 and 41 are two possible values for C, which is answer choice D. Question number 16. If t is greater than 0 and t squared minus 4 equals 0, what is the value of t? Pretty much, we just need to solve for t in the given equation by first adding 4 to both sides of the equation to get t squared equals 4. And then taking the square root of both sides, but remember to include the plus minus on the right side of the equation. The square root of t squared is t and the square root of 4 is 2, so t must be positive or negative 2. But we're told that t is greater than 0, therefore the value of t must be positive 2. Question number 17. A summer camp counselor wants to find the length x in feet across a lake as represented in the sketch above. The lengths represented by AB, EB, BD, and CD on the sketch were determined to be 1800 feet, 1400 feet, 700 feet, and 800 feet respectively. Segments AC and DE intersect at B, and angles AEB and CDB have the same measure. What is the value of x? Let's label the information that we were given. The length of AB is 1800 feet, the length of EB is 1400 feet, the length of BD is 700 feet, the length of CD is 800 feet, and angles AEB and CDB have the same measure. Angles ABE and DBC are vertical angles, so they must also have the same measure. Therefore, these two triangles have two pairs of congruent corresponding angles, so they must be similar triangles. This is known as the angle-angle criterion for similarity of triangles. Since the two triangles are similar, their corresponding sides must be proportional. Therefore, we can set up a proportion like x over 800 equals 1400 over 700, where the numerators of the fractions represent the triangle on the left and the denominators of the fractions represent the triangle on the right. The individual fractions represent corresponding sides. We can solve for x in the proportion by first simplifying 1400 over 700 to 2 and then multiplying both sides of the proportion by 800. The 800s cancel on the left side of the equation and 2 times 800 is 1600, which is the value of x. Question number 18. According to the system of equations above, what is the value of x? The easiest and fastest way to solve this system of equations is by the elimination method. You can first subtract the first given equation, x plus y equals negative 9, from the second given equation, x plus 2y equals negative 25. X minus x is 0, 2y minus y is y, and negative 25 minus negative 9 is negative 16. So we got that y is equal to negative 16. Now, you can substitute negative 16 for y and x plus y equals negative 9 and add 16 to both sides of the equation to see that x is 7. Question number 19. In a right triangle, one angle measures x degrees, where sine of x degrees equals 4/5. What is cosine of 90 degrees minus x degrees? Part of the complementary angle theorem states that sine of x degrees equals b over c equals cosine of 90 degrees minus x degrees. Therefore, in this example, sine of x degrees and cosine of 90 degrees minus x degrees must be equal, and since sine of x degrees is equal to 4/5, cosine of 90 degrees minus x degrees must also be equal to 4/5. If you don't know about the complementary angle theorem, there's another way you can solve this problem, which also explains why the complementary angle theorem works. You can construct a right triangle which has an angle that measures x degrees, and that angle can't be the right angle. Remember that sine's ratio is opposite over hypotenuse, so 4 must be the length of the side opposite the angle that measures x degrees, and 5 must be the length of the hypotenuse. The sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. We already have the right angle, which is 90 degrees, so let's subtract it from 180 degrees to get 90 degrees. We also have the angle that's x degrees, so the third angle must be 90 degrees minus x degrees, which is what we want. Cosine of this angle would be the ratio of its adjacent side, 4, to the hypotenuse, 5, so 4 over 5, the same thing as sine of x degrees. Question number 20. If a equals 5 times the square root of 2 and 2a equals the square root of 2x, what is the value of x? Let's get an equation where the only unknown or variable is x, which we can do by substituting 5 times the square root of 2 for a and 2a equals the square root of 2x to get 2 times 5 times the square root of 2 equals the square root of 2x. Now, we'll just be simplifying and solving for x. 2 times 5 is 10. X is inside the square root, so we'll square both sides of the equation to get rid of the square root. The power of 2 on the left side of the equation can be distributed to the 10 and square root of 2 because of the power of a product rule for exponents, and the square root of 2x squared on the right side of the equation is 2x. 10 squared is 100 and the square root of 2 squared is 2. Lastly, the 2's that are being multiplied on both sides of the equation get cancelled and we see that x is 100. If you all made it this far, thank you for watching the video and I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment. Otherwise, I have more videos covering math questions and SAT practice tests coming, so stay tuned.